Hi, my name is Alistair Painter. I'm Senior Account Manager from Honeywell Go Direct Services. I sell the connectivity services, supply the connectivity services. I have over 30 years of aviation experience in various different fields. And to address what you asked, it's very much turn on. That's what the charter customers want. That's what everybody wants, is to be able to use the connectivity that they use on the ground. In the air, they be it on a train. I demand that I can do my email on the train. It's expected of me to be in work mode 24 hours a day. Basically, that's what we're looking at supplying. The hardware and the services for this, and there's various different types of connectivity that we're going to shortly that people can use for whatever they require. It's very much what the customer requires. We sit down and talk to them and match the service to the requirement.
And Lubos, that's very much part of your role as well, isn't it?
Very much so, yes. So my name is Lubos Fedora. I am the area sales manager for avionics and cabin connectivity. Connectivity, growing business, growing sort of in importance both to the customers and to the operators. And to answer your original question, yes, it no longer means that. I think the question now is, what sort of connectivity am I looking after, right? Because there are very differing levels of connectivity, right? Whether you want a simple, easy thing that just meets some mandates, or you want something a lot more thorough and that gives you very similar sort of experience that you have at home and in the office currently.
Now, I think that's a really good point to jump into one of our first questions that's been submitted. So we've all talked about connectivity in our introductions. What do we actually mean by that, Lubos?
Okay, so first of all, connectivity is a little bit different on the aircraft than it is at home, right? At home, it's all through wiring through the ground systems, right? With the aircraft flying through the air, we're connecting through satellites, right? So the way I always look at it is we have the aircraft, right, which has all the hardware to connect to it. Then you have the satellite operators that look after the satellites that the aircraft has to connect to, and then you have the ground infrastructure, right? As Honeywell, we look after the hardware on the aircraft, right? We partner with people like Inmarsat and Iridium that look after the satellite and the ground infrastructure, and then we provide services through Alistair's side that basically connect these companies and make sure that the airtime is there.
When we're talking about connectivity, are we talking just about the rear of the aircraft? Are we talking just about email access to games, access to social media, or is connectivity broader in that?
Connectivity is a lot broader. Obviously, that is something that most people will experience, right? And most people will sit in the back of the aircraft and want to connect to their social media, email, and whatnot. But there is another part which is connected to the cockpit, right? In the past, that has all been done through radio when you were over the ground. But now with upcoming mandates like FANS, that's a future air navigation system that covers the North Atlantic, you have no ground coverage there, right? So you need to have connectivity through the satellite network to provide you basically safety services, as we call them.
So actually, if you've got mandates that are coming in, does that require me to have the hardware in place to be able to supply connectivity to both aspects of the aircraft?
So the mandates require you to supply connectivity to the cockpit, right? A lot of solutions right now exist that supply both, right? Obviously, you don't want to have multiple systems sometimes, right? You might be limited in terms of your budget or in terms of the space on the aircraft, right? So we have solutions which basically fulfill both requirements, provide connectivity for the cabin as well as the safety services for the cockpit.
Okay, that's really interesting. So it's an integrated system, integrated approach. Okay, that's very interesting.
And this is where we come in by sitting down with the end user to find out exactly what it is that they require. It's very much supplying the service and the hardware that they require. It's an understanding what the customer needs, and it's very important that we do that. And with the mandates, some of them like ADIS-B, in the past there's been extensions and things. If something's mandated, we recommend that they get it done as quick as possible, because everybody will try and do it in the last minute, and there is a chance that you could miss out. So if we approach you with something that needs doing, we recommend you get it done sooner rather than later, because at least you've done it then.
Right. So presumably, last time on last time's forum, we talked extensively about ADS-B, talked about the aircraft having to be down for a period of time. Presumably, whilst all this is going on, and because it's an integral part of the solution, presumably that's also the best time to install any additional hardware that you require.
Correct. Doing it through a downtime when you have either a maintenance check or you know you don't need to use the aircraft, that's the best time. And we have a lot of customers that are choosing to do all their mandates during a big check, right?
Okay.
Because it's just the most convenient for them.
Okay.
And it's inconveniencing the principal
Yes. Yes.
as little as possible.
Okay. So as an operator, as GAMA Aviation are, so what are the things that we really have to consider when looking or advising clients on a SATCOM solution? What are the things that we should be conscious of?
Obviously, cost is a major one, but also finding out, because as we were discussing earlier, you can justify, if you could look at the mission. You could look at how long you're on the aircraft, and somebody says, well, they're on the short time. Yeah, but the 5 minutes that you're flying, you could miss $1 million email if that's your business. And it just cost you $1 million because you didn't get back to that.
Right, so it's a little bit about risk.
It's look at what they actually require, because some people, if the principal's flying with his family and the children want to play Xbox Live, you can do that. It's not necessarily cheap. If you want live streaming of your kids playing soccer or whatever, is one Middle East family does that at the moment. That's very important to them.
Yep.
Then that's what you can justify it that way. It's very much what you want it for.
Yep.
What you need.
Okay.
Very much seconding that. When I talk to customers, right, Honeywell has a huge range of sort of solutions that cover all the way from the fastest to very much cheap and cheerful, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's about figuring out what the owner wants, how they want to use it, whether for personal reasons or where they fly, depending on the mandates, and figuring that out, right? So that's a key requirement, understanding where they want it, right? Last thing you want to do is buy something that is not fit for purpose.
Right, yeah.
If you want to be streaming HD video and you buy something that doesn't have the speed, you'll end up paying that money, and then you'll have to pay to rip it all out and put a new system in.
Well, that's an interesting thing. So to what degree would you advise clients on future-proofing? Because whilst their initial requirement may be, it's okay, I only use it for basic telephony or text, relatively low speed requirements, relatively low capacity requirements, but actually that we all know that things evolve very quickly, our demands increase, that's what's happened on the ground, happens in the air. So to what degree would you advise clients to say, actually, just think beyond that horizon a little bit further?
It's the things that you don't know at the moment that will come along. It's the reason why Apple get away with upgrading their phones. What are we now? Is it 10? Apple phone,
Yeah.
iPhone 10. It's that future, like I say, future proofing.
Yeah.
I think once you start using this, and if you've got live streaming, it will become more relevant to you, and you'll really miss it when it's not there.
Right.
I mean, we're of a generation where we watched Tomorrow's World, and they plonked a phone on the table and said, within 20 years, everyone will have one of those, and we just looked at them and get out of it. You're joking. I'm still of the mindset that that a CD you can smear with strawberry jam, wipe it clean, plug it in, and the CD still works, because that's what I was told on a TV. Who knew digital broadcasting would come along?
Yeah.
So we all got DAB radios. I've got one in the car now. It's fantastic. It's awesome. It came with the car. Would I miss it when it's not there? Yeah.
So I think if you're potentially missing it when it's not there, and we're kind of also seeing though, with higher capacity requirements, so streaming videos you mentioned earlier, LSA, there is a flip side to that, isn't there? And that's the ability to control some of these things.
Yeah, and that's where you use the filters. You work out what you want the ability for that to do instantly. There's nothing worse than you start your IS download on your cheap Wi-Fi at home. You get on the aircraft, because you've logged into before, your phone automatically switches on. Yeah. Logs into onto the aircraft Wi-Fi, and all of a sudden you're into a $20,000 bill for downloading
But
the
all-
iOS update for.
But all those filters, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
are they're already in existence.
They're already there. They're all controllable. It's controllable.
Yeah.
You know, again, we sit down and we talk about what do you want to stop. It can be
Yeah.
social media. It can be. It's not Big Brother. It's a question of
Yeah, it's-
managing the cost for you because
Exactly. And
everything comes at a cost.
And I presume that this is particularly important for those principals, those owners who are issuing their aircraft for charter to be able to control
Yeah.
some of those things. I mean, we're seeing quite a
critical.
lot of demand for
Yeah.
for connected aircraft within the charter market. But for us as an operator, the risk is that how do we control the build using the connectivity?
Well, that's where you can use a thing that we call Go Direct Access.
Right.
And basically, it's like when you check into a hotel, the first thing you do nowadays is you log on to the hotel Wi-Fi. Well, that's what passengers are going to do, and they log on through the interface
Yep.
and just put the credit card details, and you don't get left with the trying to reclaim the bills afterwards. It's all done in real time. They could buy a package,
Yep.
and if they're a regular charter, the next time they get onto another aircraft, it doesn't have to be the same one. Their details are there. They can use it. They've still got some credit there. They can use that. It's a great way, and also the beauty of it is that that you can generate revenue for the owner of that aircraft
Yep.
by charging just an extra dollar more
Right.
per megabyte.
Well, that's really interesting. So that's Go Direct.
Yeah.
Now, presumably, there are people that have connected aircraft already, and they may be interested just hearing or learning a little bit more about Go Direct and other systems from Honeywell. How easy is it to switch from their legacy into your system?
It's a very, very simple process. It's we actually have an engineer on site to do the actual activation. And it's literally about a 2-hour thing. But what I prefer to say to people is it's 5 day because there's a lot of admin involved. If you give us each provider supplies you with a list of what the equipment is and whatever. There's a lot of stuff on there that we need a lot of numbers, and if we've got that, we can have it pre-planned so the switchover can be very simple.
Okay.
But allowing 5 working days.
Yep.
That gives us any chance of any delays from the incumbent deliberately delaying things because
Okay.
some people do.
Again, what we want there is just a nice clean switch over for
And we have a whole
particular
transition
client.
team that what I tend to do is we look at when the aircraft's on the ground for maintenance.
Yep.
Great time to do any switches,
Oh, right,
updates.
Yep.
And I'll have it. We'll have the transition team liaising with your team
Yep.
if it's one of your managed aircraft, or with the owners if it's somebody
Yep.
else looking in. And when that aircraft, say it's in Paris, at Dessau, or in TAG, or in your facility at Oxford, we'll have the guys there and do the switch, the testing.
Yep.
So when that person comes to do it, when the person comes to fly away,
It's all there,
it's all
ready,
done, yeah.
working.
it's as simple as possible. Because the last thing we want is somebody giving us grief because something's gone wrong.
Yeah, for sure. So we've talked a lot about the business aviation applications, but there are other applications, aren't there, in terms of connectivity? And maybe we should talk about one of those, something that's very close to our heart as a air ambulance operator, and very proud to have been an air ambulance operator, is connectivity between the aircraft, ambulance services, and any other ground support services that may be needed to support that patient through their journey. So perhaps, how does that work with Honeywell services that they provide?
So what we do, and as I said, we have many sort of solutions, and what fits this sort of criteria is the Aspire 200, right?
Right.
It's a very simple system and provides you one channel of SBB, right? Which provides you up to, let's say, 300 kilobits per second, right?
Right.
So you're not looking at streaming speeds.
Yeah.
But for like an air ambulance, all you need to do is get data out there, right?
Yeah.
That can be in the form of text, maybe a picture, right? It's not critical to be streamable,
Yeah.
right? And what's great about it, because it comes through satellites, it will cover the whole globe, right?
Right,
So you might be in places where you don't have any phone signal, right? You might land there, it might be either a helicopter or a sort of short-range aircraft, and you'd be like, oh, I'll just text someone, no phone signal.
So
But going through the satellite system, right, you can use voice over IP services, or you can use like a messaging service, right, to send that information over, or email.
Okay,
Any of
interesting.
this would work.
So there's both fixed wing and rotary
Applications there as well.
applications.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fixed wing where we see it most, I believe, is like a King Air versions, where we see
Alright.
Aspire being useful.
Okay.
And it is critical that in this day and age, I mean, you get engine data transferred from the aircraft to the engine manufacturer in real time. Well, if you're a medevac, then you need to make sure that the patient who's
Yes,
your engine,
very
their
much so,
data is
yeah.
transferred through. Having come through quite a serious illness, where time is critical, then if you've got a passenger in the back, then you want to be zapping the data. It's data at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Then you should be looking at the criticalness of what
Okay.
what's required.
So again, the advice we'd probably make in terms of the subject of connectivity is here. The world is relying increasingly on it. The fact that when you take off, you don't break that connective cycle. There is
No.
demand,
Not anymore.
both from the passengers, the pilot, from the safety perspective, and we believe that that is going to increase.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why our latest system, the legacy, not legacy, the sort of flagship system, is now the fastest thing that's available out there. Right,
Right,
it covers globe coverage for basically anywhere you need it. Right,
Okay.
has additional steerable beams that can add bandwidth as needed based on traffic.
And what sort of speeds are we talking up to?
This is the system that we call JetWave or JetConnex, and we're looking at up to 15 megabits per second. So you're
Wow.
looking at basically home office speeds.